Hi, good to see you again. Welcome to Block 4, Operations and Equations with Directed Number, Lesson 7. I'll share my screen. So, in your previous lesson, you learned how to multiply directed numbers. Directed numbers are also known as positive and negative integers. In today's lesson, you're going to learn how to multiply and divide directed numbers. So it is a combination of multiplication and division, putting it all together. Please support our mission of providing a platform where children can learn regardless of their financial circumstance, provided they have an internet access. They should be able to have access to high quality maths education. So click on the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and click on the notification bell so that when new videos are uploaded, you will be notified. Thank you. Before we start, I would like you to do the retrieval practice questions in 3 minutes. Apologies for that. Okay, assuming you have paused the video and you've answered the retrieval practice questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So for the first one, you simply asked to write down the multiplication of the calculation represented by the model. So the multiplication is 7 lots of negative 5 is equal to negative 35. And then to be able to write these numbers in ascending order, it will be helpful to think about the number that is furthest left on the number line. The number that is furthest left on the number line is negative 50. And so when we start to arrange the numbers using that pattern, we get this. Okay, so that gives us that answer. Then the next one, you were asked to fill in the missing number. Well, you don't really need to do any calculation here. Spotting the pattern from what you already know about how number signs affect multiplication of negative numbers, we know that two negatives will give us positive. So 2.78 times 3.6 will give us a positive result. So to get a positive result on the right hand side, that number has to be negative 3.6. All right, let's do some new learning. Just like we can divide or share positive numbers, we can also share negative numbers. So imagine if you have these 6 negative counters and you ask to split it into 2 equal groups, you're going to have 2 equal groups, and you know that that group, from what you've learned, one group represents negative 3. We can also do the same if we have to regroup this into 3 equal groups. That will give us negative 2. Now, sometimes you need to realize that if you want to use groupings of a larger column by row method, you would have something like this. So if we want to represent this, we would say it is 3 lots of negative 5. So we have 3 groups of negative 5 counters. We can group it in another fashion. So now division comes into play. We can do the inverse operation and say that this represents negative 15 counters put into 3 equal groups will give us each group containing negative 5. We can also regroup this to have negative 3 groups of negative 3 each 5 groups containing -3 each will give us -15 in total. So this calculation can be represented as -3 times 5. The inverse calculation can be -15 divided by 5 is equal to -3. All right, from what you've learned so far, you have learned that you can have negative division. So, for example, if you have -15 divided by 5, that will give you -3. It's now time for you to practice. Pause the video and answer questions 1 and 2 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered questions 1 and 2, here are the answers. So for question 1, you were asked, use the diagram to help you fill in the missing numbers. Okay, so you should know that this represents negatives. So -8 divided by 2 should be -4. So you may not even really use the diagram because you should know from even what I mentioned in our previous lesson that division has the same relationship with the signs like multiplication. So these answers are pretty obvious. And then here you were asked, write 2 multiplication and 2 divisions represented by the array. So you should be able to write that array really easily. Let's do some new learning. Just like we were able to use the groups of the counters to represent multiplication and division of directed numbers, otherwise positive and negative integers, we can do the same with bar model. This here shows -6 times 4 equal to -24. So -24 can be split into groups of 4, okay? Groups of -6 counters, and that will give you four groups. You can also write the division fact by saying -24 divided by 4 is equal to -6. You can also rewrite this. Remember, multiplication is commutative. You can rewrite this. Okay, commutative means swapping the numbers does not really affect the result. So 4 times -6 is 24. And you can write the division fact. -24 divided by -6 is equal to 4. Now, that's quite interesting because we begin to see these facts. So I want you to pause the video and answer these questions really quickly in 1 minute. All right, assuming you've answered the questions, here are the answers. Now, we have established certain facts in our previous lesson. Those facts are also presented here about how directed numbers behave when we multiply or divide them. They behave in the same way. So if you recall, when we did our previous lesson, positive times positive will give us positive. In this case here, positive divided by positive will give us positive. And you can see it there in this result. Yeah. Next, negative divided by positive, you can see it here. For example, this one, negative divided by positive will give you negative. And if you recall, when we did multiplication, we learned that negative times positive will give us negative. Negative divided by negative, you can see here, will give you positive. You can see it's a positive result, which is 7. If you recall, negative times negative is equal to positive from our previous lesson. Positive divided by negative, you can see here, will give you a negative result. If you recall, in our previous lesson, we also learned that positive times negative will give you negative. So these are really important facts. If you remember the ones for negative, for multiplication, division obeyed the same rule. It's now time for you to pause the video and answer these questions. Pause the video and answer questions 3 and 4 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. So here you were simply asked to fill in the missing numbers using the bar model. These are simple facts that you should know by now. So we know these will have to be positive. Why? Because the result here is negative. So negative times positive will give us negative. Here we know this will have to be negative. Why? Because the result is negative. Because we know positive times negative will give us negative. Here we know this has to be positive because we know that the result will be negative. Why? Negative 12 divided by 3 will be negative 4. And you can see it using the bar model to complete these results. Next, for B, you were also asked to use this bar model to complete these results. And then you ask for question 4, use Amer's multiplication to work out the calculations. So for these calculations, we know the results will be negative 5 because positive 15 divided by negative 3 has to be negative, if you remember the rule. And then positive divided by negative will give you negative. Okay? So these are facts we should know. Pause the video and answer questions 5, 6, and 7 in 4 minutes. Assuming you have paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So for this one, for question 5, you can see that this will be a negative result. So we're following exactly the same rule that we have learned. So let me rewrite it here for emphasis, okay? And just for repetition, okay? When you see something again and again, you should remember. So positive divided by positive will give you positive. Negative divided by negative will give you positive. Positive divided by negative will give you negative. Negative divided by positive will give you negative. So these are really important facts, and you would see these facts reflect in these results that we see here. Okay? All these facts here are reflected in these results. Okay? All right, pause the video and answer questions 8 and 9 in 4 minutes. You can take longer. You can work at your own pace. You don't have to do it in 4 minutes. Okay, assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. So here you were asked to work out the value of each calculation and write them in ascending order. So here you should be able to do the calculations. You know the relationship between the signs of the numbers. To write them in ascending order, these numbers are merely there to help you put the numbers in ascending order. Ascending means starting from the smallest. So that one should be first. You can see it written there. So when you are asked to arrange things of that nature, the numbers, the answers you get are merely there to help you know which one is the smallest or the largest. But when you arrange, you have to write the original thing that was given to you to arrange. So you see that one is first. That one comes next. And this one. And that one. Okay, next you were asked to fill in the missing numbers. So we know that our result is negative 12. So using inverse operation, it would be the same as doing negative 12 times negative 3. So using inverse operation, imagine you're going the other way to find what the result is. So going this way, that's the to get the result. That way, we don't know what it is. So it will be -3 times -12. And of course, you know, two negatives will give you positive. This one, again, doing the inverse operation, it will be 60 times -6. So 60 times -6. All right. And then here, doing the inverse operation, it will be 12, okay, -12 divided by 12, okay? Or just if you think about it, if you have -12, we're going to have to divide by, -1 to have the same result there, yeah? Then here we have going to have -1.5 to be able to get 2. Well, another way of thinking about it is to do the inverse operation, which is -3 divided by 2. Okay? Here, we can do the same thing, the inverse operation, which is -4.5 times 2. That will give us -9, and so on and so forth. Pause the video and answer questions 10 and 11 in 4 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered questions 10 and 11, here are the answers. So here you were asked, in the pyramids, each number is the product of two numbers below. Okay, so product means to multiply. Don't forget that word. Product means to multiply. Okay, so they're asking you, they're telling you that each number is the product of the two numbers below. So these, okay, this is so if you have to multiply two things to get a +12, it's going to have to be a -6. Another way of thinking about it is to do the inverse operation. 12 divided by -2 will be -6. These two, another way of thinking about it is to say, right, if, that is -6 and that's 12, to get that number, it has to be that times that, which is -6, and then that times that will be -72. Here you were asked, Mo has 5 number cards. Here is some information about his number cards. The cards are in ascending order. The range of the number cards is 32. So it means from the lowest, the highest minus the lowest number will give you 32. The greatest number divided by the median number is 8. Okay, so the median number means if you've arranged all the numbers, the middle number will have to be, when you take the greatest number and you divide it by the median number, you'll have to get 8. Then the 3 numbers in the middle have a product of -36. So the way you answer this question is you start to put the information together. So the range of the number card is 32. Okay, that's well and good. Next, the greatest number divided by the median number is 8. So you're thinking, okay, what number could I have such that if I divide it by, if I divide the greatest number by the median, I'll get 8. There are quite a few numbers, okay? And you can see here, 24 divided by 3 is 8. Okay, so once you have those numbers, you can begin to say, okay, if the range means 24 minus something, the lowest number should give me 32. That will have to be a negative number because 24 minus 8 should give us 32, because remember, these two will become positive. So 24 add 8 will be 32. Yeah. So There are other numbers that you could form, but this is one of the solutions. And that brings us to the end of our lesson. So, what we've learned so far today is nothing new, but it reiterates or it puts together everything you had learned about multiplying and dividing directed numbers. Okay? So, well done for sticking around and for taking your learning seriously. Until next time, take really good care of yourself and bye bye.